One of the central issues of the time is this accusation of Islamophobia. Now, that is a ridiculous idea. A phobia, by definition, must be irrational. And most people in the world understand today that being afraid of Muslims is not irrational. Now, it's not to say that all Muslims are bad, but 99% of terrorism today is Muslim-based. Not all mosques are radicalized, but there are a huge number that are radicalized. And our president, either because he's delusional or he's a jihadist, wants to limit our intelligence agency's ability to investigate Islam, does everything they can to advance Muslim interests, hires Muslim Brotherhood, doesn't think there's anything wrong with them, even though they're a terrorist organization, and does lots and lots of things to advance jihad. I'll give you a link here to my list of 280 things, 280 that Obama's done to advance jihad in this country. Now just look at the polls. There are 1.5 billion Muslims in the world. Obama says 99.9% of them want what we want, which is completely nonsense. First of all, he doesn't know anything about Islam then, or he's just lying, because the greatest scholar of Islam, Bernard Lewis, says Christianity and Islam are in a direct confrontational course, civilizational war. Now just look at the polls. Take Pakistan, Afghanistan, where a lot of the 1.5 million Muslim immigrants that Obama's allowed in the United States come from. The vast majority support jihad. 60% of the French Muslims support violent jihad by poll. 25% of American Muslims by poll support violent jihad. 51% want to supplant our constitution with Sharia, which is sedition. The vast majority of Palestinians want all the Jews dead and Israel gone. They don't want Judea and Samaria. They want the whole thing. On and on and on when you look at polls. And when you look at hate crime statistics, blacks and Jews suffer way more in the United States than Muslims. Very few anti-Islamic acts in the United States. Of course, any reasonable person who has a brain understands that there's a problem. Is it rational to be worried if you're going to get on a plane with your family and there are 5 Muslim guys there who speak Arabic and don't speak English well, who are sitting separated on your plane? That's what happened in 9/11. We just had San Bernardino. That lady was vetted. People want to bring in now 100,000, 200,000 Syrian refugees, despite the fact that 20% admit supporting ISIS. 80% of them are young military-age men, not young widows and orphans. Besides the 20% that say they support ISIS, many more support other terrorist groups. ISIS now they can make realistically looking Syrian passports that can pass muster. And the San Bernardino killer was vetted and still got into the United States. And the Democratic hacks say, oh, we can do better. Well, no, not good enough. All of our intelligence agencies, all of them, say that we cannot vet Syrian refugees properly to safeguard us. So it's one thing to be a stupid liberal and say, oh, we're nice people, we should welcome everybody in. But to be that delusional, to not understand that you have a right to protect yourself and your family and your country. There's 7 billion people in the world. They don't all have a right to come to the United States. We can decide who gets to come and who doesn't. And those Syrian refugees there are part of the ISIS plan. ISIS predicted a year ago that there would be a mass migration to Europe, because one of the Islamic principles, Hiraj, is conquest by colonization and conquest by immigration. It's one of their tactics, that they send these young military-age men to impregnate the leg girls of Europe, and then they'll conquest Europe eventually. Now just take Sweden, for example. 5% of the population of Sweden right now is Muslim. 70% of the rapes are from Muslim men. Now, is that what we want in the United States? And so this idea that Islamophobia, somehow they accuse you of Islamophobia, you should shut up, and that they've now made it illegal in various countries to criticize Islam, that's suicidal, delusional. So that's the reality about Islamophobia. It's a phony term because it is very rational to be wary of Muslims today and completely irrational not to be.